Hello, this is Daniel Mart, and today I'm going to be reviewing the third episode of the new series Helix, and it's called 274. That's the name of the third episode. So basically, as review goes, I'll do a quick synopsis, likes and dislikes, and then I'll rate it as usual. And yeah, but there may be some spoilers, so I recommend for those who don't want anything spoiled to get out and watch something else or log off or whatever. I'll give you a couple of seconds starting now. Okay, so for those who didn't leave, sorry, you chose whatever. So as I said before, quick synopsis, likes and dislikes, and then I'll rate it. Yeah, and I'm kind of sorry, but this review was supposed to come out yesterday, but kind of forgot to do the review yesterday, so I'm doing it today. Sorry, bear with me. So yeah, um, so this episode appeared yesterday, I believe, yeah, or 2 days ago. Whatever, January 17th, 2 or 3 days ago. Um, and as I said before, it's the third episode of Helix, and it is called 274. So yeah, basically, in this episode, you basically still have the you still have the scientists and the doctors and whatever, Alan and Hiroshi and Julia, and what's her name, Sarah, I believe, Sarah, and all the other scientists, still trying to find the cure for this pathogen or disease that's turning all the people into these weird zombie-like creatures, with almost like the 28 Days Later type thing, when only they could talk and actually have a sense of conscience and whatever. So basically, they're still trying to find out what caused it, and they're trying to find the cure. Um, yeah, basically they've quarantined everyone. They've quarantined everyone, or those who are infected, in block R, in block R, whatever. And then at the end of the episode, you get a really awkward plot twist, in my opinion. It's kind of awkward and kind of weird, but it kind of makes sense. And that is that some of the people who were originally infected, or thought to be infected, may not actually be infected, and those who were thought not to be infected may actually be infected. So yeah. So as usual, the acting and the writing was phenomenal. But this episode kind of saddened me, mostly because the writing wasn't as good compared to the one from last week. The acting was still good, so that's a good thing. Sorry. Another thing that I really didn't like and kind of saddened me or whatever, was that the plot was kind of confusing, and basically this whole plot was confusing overall, and it really didn't make any sense at all. I mean, there's times where you were like, okay, what the hell just happened? And you know, also the plot twist was sloppy. It couldn't. I don't even think. I honestly don't think it could have been more sloppier. Maybe could have, but honestly, I don't think the ending was done correctly and whatever. But the character development was still pretty decent. Again, I mean, still pretty decent. It was, like the ones from last week was, they were decent. So yeah. Um, and the acting is still pretty good. Special effects, they were okay. They were good. They're so good. So whatever. Yeah. But the plot twist, it's almost like a double plot twist. One Julia Walker, one of those scientists, and the ex-wife or still wife or like some kind of wife or whatever of Alan Farragut, who is the main character. She's one of the infected or supposedly infected or whatever. So is what happens is that how do I say it? I'm trying to think. Okay, so she gets infected, so she's playing level R, but she's the one to discover this whole weird plot twist that those who are thought to be infected may not actually be infected, and it was kind of sloppy. Her acting, I think, was the weakest at that moment. So yeah, I'm trying to think exactly how to word it out. At the end, it was just very sloppy, but it does make for an interesting point for next few episodes as to how will Alan react and the rest of the crew. And yeah, I mean, this episode actually did get a little bit darker from the parts you could understand, because it appears that Hiroshi, the Asian scientist, he has developed a cure for every single disease, smallpox, AIDS, hives, the flu. But the downside, the downside is that more than 75% of the people die. So, so it's kind of shady at that moment. So, I mean, the character development does get a little bit more interesting, and that I still think that's pretty cool. But I still, the act was still pretty cool. I do think that the writing did go down a bit, and the plot was overly confusing, and it seemed like they tried too hard, which really didn't help them at the end. So, what can I say? So yeah, now that's basically it for the likes and dislikes. Now for the rate on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, and 6 being decent. I'm thinking this will have to be. What would this be? I mean, this will have to be. This will have to be what's it called? Maybe a 7. Yeah, maybe likely a 7 in my opinion. It has to be a 7. That's about compared to the first episode. That's 1 digit less. The first episode I put 8, and compared to the second episode, that's 1.15. So no, whatever. So I think it's 7. It did go down a bit, but I still think that the overall quality is good. So yeah, whatever. Whatever. So yeah, remember to subscribe. I will put a annotation somewhere here for the other previous Helix review. For those who want to check that out. Besides that, I also review other TV shows, comics, movies, action figures. So stay tuned for that. Yeah. Comment below on your thoughts on this episode. Did you like it? Did you hate it? And what did you think of the other 2 previous episodes? And how do you think the rest of the season will work out? And yeah. Besides that, comment, subscribe, share on Instagram, Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, or Vine, or MySpace or Twitter, whatever you guys prefer. And that's basically it. Tell your friends, families, and neighbors about me, my channel, whatever. And yeah, now that's basically it. This is Daniel Mart signing off.